have any wrinkles. Like, I don't, like, what's your secret?
It's the Corbett water. It has to be.
What are you talking about? I have like crow's feet here when I smile. That is sun damage. My wife makes fun of me. Never use sunblock.
You don't have anything on your forehead. Like, women everywhere are like, does he get Botox? Seriously.
Stop. I'm way too cheap to get Botox.
Weatherman, we can't allow any further delay. So stop your waiting.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. This is episode 95. Today is Wednesday, March 27th. I'm meteorologist Jeff Orgeron, joined by Camila Ortiz. Hey Camila.
Good morning.
And Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson. Hey Mark.
Good morning, Jeffy.
It is a wet
I'm all
one.
fresh.
Yeah, you are fresh. Always fresh. Camila fresh?
Yeah, not so much. Just ate my breakfast. We're getting through the coffee, so fresh enough.
Okay, so you're like this time last week, Katie was saying she was drinking coffee. I said Katie's going like that. So Camila will be ramping up throughout the podcast. Okay?
Yes, exactly.
We'll see.
So stay tuned. All right, it's a soaker out there this morning. We're recording this Wednesday morning, and we're going to have some images of this beautiful mid-latitude cyclone spinning toward the northwest here.
Tell me more.
Yeah, we'll go over the wet pattern that we're expecting over the next couple of days through Thursday and maybe into early Friday. More snow coming to the Cascades. Great news as we basically hit our peak typically this time of year for the Northern Oregon Cascades in terms of the snowpack. We have a nice stretch of warm and dry weather coming our way right around the holiday weekend.
Yes.
Last time we had warm and dry conditions, or at least dry conditions on Easter was in 2022.
Oh, okay.
But people asked me, they're like, I don't remember the last time we had a dry Easter.
You're like, it was only 2 years ago.
A couple years ago. We all have short-term memory loss when it comes to weather. There's so much that happens. All right, we'll go over. We actually had an earthquake offshore last night, pretty typical. We're going to go over some of our recent earthquakes. There's a big anniversary. Is it today, Mark?
2. We've got a spring break quake and the big Alaskan Good Friday quake. We're going to cover it all.
Wow.
All that.
We're going to look back.
And we're getting close to that eclipse that's coming up. Mark is stoked, everybody.
Yeah.
Mark is
going to happen.
Yeah, eclipse
Road
boy.
trip.
We know it's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's not like the weather where we're not sure if it's going to happen.
Right.
It's happening.
Definitely happening.
Fairly predictable here. All right.
Oops, sorry. That's me making
One
noise.
of these days, I'm going to be the driver of these graphics.
Did you hear him just smashing his keyboard? Good Lord.
I moved too quickly past the first beautiful rainbow graphic. Wow. And by the way, I should point out, if you listen to this podcast, I say this every time, if you only listen, you should be watching the podcast because you get to see all these different graphics we show you, including this amazing rainbow pic. You can find it. We're on YouTube, right?
We are on YouTube. We will air on Fox 12 now at 2 o'clock on Friday.
And on our website, just the old style, kptv.com/weather. Go to the weather section and it's weather podcast, and there's a link for the video version.
You know what I'm amazed by is I just kind of glance at the how many people have listened to our podcast, and I'll look like an hour after without us advertising it. People are really into the podcast. They're looking for it. So if you're one of those people that want to listen right off, hot off the press, you can just go to our website, kptv.com/weather, and you'll see the podcast tab on there.
And if you have our app, there's a notification when a new podcast comes out. Because otherwise, you just always have to be refreshing every day, wondering when will they do a new podcast.
By the way, we put a little an app advertisement there. You can just scan that QR code if you need our Fox 12 Weather app, or you can just search Fox 12 Weather in the App Store. And, that's an easy way, by the way, to submit photos. And that way we can show it on the podcast or on TV. And
be careful because since there are lots of different Fox associated affiliates around the country, there might be don't download the First Alert Weather 8 or First Alert Weather 10 or excuse me, anything like that. It's First Alert Weather 12.
Yeah.
I think you could also search Fox 12 Weather, right?
I don't know. I haven't searched it.
Okay.
It's just on my phone.
By the way, shout out to Terry who shot
That's great.
amazing view of this rainbow, double rainbow.
That's got to be one of the
Tualatin Valley.
best rainbow pictures I've maybe ever seen.
Is that from yesterday? Did you just get that in today?
Yep. Yeah, it was. It said that it was sent in on the. Actually, I think it was sent in today, but it was from yesterday.
Wow.
Good. We're going to use that this evening then.
Yeah.
It's already in the graphics. You can pull that into your show. Yeah. All right. Right.
Yeah.
So we have infrared satellite imagery. This is a quick satellite loop of a beautiful mid-latitude cyclone spinning offshore.
Textbook.
That's beautiful.
That's right. I said that this morning, and Mia and Bonnie looked at me like, "What the heck are you talking about?"
They're like, we don't read the same textbooks you do, Jeff.
They were partying all through college. They weren't reading any of those books.
Oh, come on.
They were
Give
just
them more
having
credit
fun.
than that.
No way.
They were studying other things. They sure weren't studying this stuff.
I will say, by the end of the 5 o'clock hour of Good Day Oregon, me and Bonnie were like, Jeff's talking about some textbook cyclone.
Nice.
So we caught on. Yeah.
There you go.
By the way, this is nothing unusual. We get like over a dozen of these during the wet season, where they come on in and they bring in a cold front. And here's kind of a wider view, just a screenshot of it. And that cold front draped over the eastern Pacific and the west coast. That's bringing us that steady shot of rain this morning, Wednesday morning. And see that clear slot right behind the cold front there? Mark, if you could put your cursor on that. That's going to bring us a lot of sunshine this afternoon, Wednesday afternoon. And that is going to bring some instability. Cooler air aloft, warmer air at the surface. Any showers that develop in that environment could produce downpours and maybe even develop into an isolated thunderstorm. And I included funnel cloud in there because
whoa, trigger word.
It's going to be pretty breezy out there the next couple of days and gusty at times. And weirder things have happened.
I mean, it's spring, unstable air. Lifted indexes are low. We got some capes, some lifting. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the pattern, it was interesting when I looked the last 2 days when I saw that sudden clearing behind the system midday and into the afternoon. And, models aren't showing that many showers. But then when you look at the parameters, the different things, lifted index, cape, different stuff, then it's like, ooh, I could see a thunderstorm popping up this afternoon or maybe a little line of thunder showers. And sometimes we get a surprise funnel cloud or even more than that in this pattern. So
exactly.
We will see. Jeff, what when you are looking for that kind of weather, what do you tend to look at most? You've had some severe weather experience in the South. I realize it's different, but what do you tend to look at?
Surface-based cape, mid-level cape. Obviously, in the southern plains, those cape values are significantly higher than what we see out here on the West Coast.
Sure.
Out here, I would consider 300 to 500 joules per kilogram of cape to be
good.
Enough to support some thunderstorm development. Out in the southern plains, we're talking a big day would be like 2,000 to 3,000.
Yeah, that's not happening west of the Cascades.
Yeah,
in the summer, I've seen it in the summer maybe once or twice, but it's rare.
It's crazy on those days though when you're in the plains and you have that much cape. Watching the cumulus clouds billow
shoot up. Isn't that so cool? I do miss that. I miss seeing
magical.
That.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's right. You're from Nebraska, so you've seen that.
Yeah.
You can.
I mean, they're literally just forming in seconds, like in front of your eyes. It's really cool.
Yeah. So obviously, cape values, lifted indices. Also, you want to look at the wind profile. So if you have a veering wind with height, which means that the wind basically will rotate clockwise with height. So let's say you have a southerly wind at the surface and a westerly wind aloft. That could support rotating thunderstorms. We don't tend to see a lot of those out here, but those are the kind of parameters that you would look for severe weather.
So that's basically what I was going to say, just growing up here and only forecasting in this climate, it's typically lifted index in the Cape.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right about the wind profile. I do know when we actually have had tornadoes out of this pattern, almost always it's a southerly wind at the surface and westerly above of some sort, something like that.
I wasn't working, was it Monday night? Did we have some thunderstorms popping up on radar? I remember hearing a pretty good downpour out here. I think it was Monday night.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Nothing showed up on radar. I mean, there were some intense showers.
Okay.
But there was no lightning detected from what we have. But my wife texted and said, there was thunder.
Oh,
so which are you going to believe? Which are you going to trust, your wife or the?
I definitely trust
detected?
Sheila. No
yeah,
offense.
I think so. Nobody messes with that.
Yeah, we had some good downpours Monday night. Katie was actually talking about those too.
Okay.
This is the rainfall forecast, and I wouldn't look specifically at the exact numbers, but this just gives you a ballpark idea between Wednesday morning and Friday morning, roughly how much rainfall we'll see. And Mark, if you can highlight from Portland to Mount Hood, notice that area sees less rainfall, at least with this particular forecast model. And I think that's why when we look at the snowfall outlook for the Mount Hood area, the numbers are pretty low compared to like Santiam Pass.
Oh, that's probably right. And some of that is modeling, but maybe it just shows clusters of, rain, clusters of showers. Thursday, maybe affected by Thursday quite a bit.
Placement
it's more of a
I'm sure will matter, of course.
Yeah, on things like this, I tend to let's say if I'm going to use this on TV, I guess I would, because this is what we use. I'd say, probably at least a half inch coming up. An inch might be high, but maybe somebody gets an inch.
Half an inch.
I tend to not focus on exact numbers. I've seen TV weather people say, oh, we expect 0.79 in Longview. It's like that. Don't do that.
That's when you get into trouble.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Always just kind of generalize, because it really depends on where the heavier showers form. And so we're going to have a wet couple of days, and we're going to also see some pretty decent snowfall in portions of the Cascades. This is a snapshot of what the upper bowl of Ski Bowl looked like this morning.
Nice.
I think this was around 8 o'clock this morning. Just snow-flocked trees, good amount of snow on the ground. And, over the past 48 hours, we've seen some healthy snowfall totals. Of course, these numbers are going to change, but these were taken earlier this morning, and about 8 to 12 inches of new snow has been reported at our ski resorts.
Did you guys notice? I think that Timberline sensor has an issue of some sort, because Meadow seems trusty, but so I've been kind of guessing a little bit with Timberline.
I almost, before the reports came in to the websites, I thought I was seeing maybe 15 inches of new snow, but they reported 12 inches.
Yeah, something's up with that sensor this winter. I noticed it's been higher than it should be.
Yeah.
So, however you look at it, it's great because a lot of spring breakers are looking to ski and snowboard this week, and
good stuff.
And we talked about this last week. This is what that black line there represents the snowfall over the course of the wet season, or basically the snow water equivalent, the snowpack in the Mount Hood area. And we were talking last week that we should see an uptick over the next week or so, and you can see that black line kind of shoots up over the past couple of days. So we're about to hit our peak. Typically late March is when we see our peak snowpack. That green cross there represents, or that green X represents roughly the peak of the snowpack over the past 30 years.
I didn't realize till like a week ago. I didn't put too much stock into this whole thing, but other than, it goes up and it comes down. I always thought for some reason we were talking average here and median there, which is a slightly different mathematical thing. But I think that's just set above the X. It doesn't mean up that high. It just means it's showing you up above this line where it is.
I think so. Like on the time series below, it just kind of shows roughly where we peak.
So that X should really be down here.
I think so.
If I'm reading it correctly. Because they're
makes sense.
both median, peak, and median. So they should be the same.
Yeah, I think so.
We're getting deep into the weeds here, but that annoyed me. I was like, why does it need to be? What? So the average is way up there? What? The median? Huh? What? Yeah.
But we're right around where we should
average.
Be. Yeah. Considering we are in an El Nino year, this is great. Although it seems like we're phasing out of El Nino and maybe heading into a La Nina. Oregon Mountain Snowpack generally is in pretty good shape. The northeast corner of the state is, below our typical number for March 27th. And as we head up to the north into Washington, the numbers are also generally below normal. But not too bad.
Look at those numbers. The Harney, these are those closed basins, kind of the edge of the Great Basin down in Burns, Harney Lake, Malheur Lake. I was going to say perpetual drought, but I mean a very dry area. And look how much snowpack they have, which is really good. They're going to have a lot of water coming down for you folks in Burns. Also other, a lot of ranches down there. This is great for their water supply grit down there. That's, like I said, it's really, if you ever drive down there, it's sagebrush, a few trees maybe up above 7,000 feet. So really good stuff to have all that snow in the driest part of the state.
All right. I didn't want to include any numbers because every model to model run changes. So I think it's safe to assume that we'll pick up at least a few inches of snow around Government Camp over the next couple of days. And, we've been talking about maybe 5 to 10 inches of snow in the higher elevations above the passes. I think that's reasonable, especially where the heavier showers develop. You know, Mark and Camilla, this morning, this was pumping out like 14 inches of snow over the next couple of days at Santiam Pass, the graph model.
I gotta say, we're gonna have a Met fight here, folks.
Oh my gosh, yes, bring it up because I was going to.
Oh, good. I don't like using this color table if there are no numbers on it, because I can't. With Santiam Pass, is like, what is that, 4 or 6 inches? Because it's all color gradations. We do this for our colorblind folks. I have no idea what this number is in here. I think
the colors are all too similar.
I'm not putting a blanket ban on using this color table within the Weather Center. I'm not going to write a nasty memo, but
No,
I never would anyway. But I think if
I'm
you
the
use
only
this
one,
color,
by the way.
okay. So I think if you use this color table, you need to put numbers on it.
The numbers were on TV. They were on it, for the record. I just yanked them off because I thought 4 inches was a little low for Timberline Lodge.
I mean, that's fair. But I think, actually, I don't like going this close anyway. That annoys me. But that's, you know what? I'm not banning that close view. But yeah, I have no idea as a viewer, like, where are we at here?
Yeah, I agree.
The fight, by the way, that Mark is kind of bringing up is we've gone back and forth on our color table. We've had more colorful color tables to represent the snow. But we also understand that a good chunk of our viewers are colorblind and can't really decipher what, where the heavy snow is, where the light snow is. And a monochromatic color or legend tends to help those folks out and includes that.
Which is okay, but if we're going to do that, and the numbers are significantly large, we need numbers on there. And you know what? You can copy paste from one of the other. Oh no, you said they are on there. You just turned them off.
Turn them off for just for this.
Well, or we could keep it monochromatic, but just have more dramatic jumps in darkness, I guess, going up.
That crossed my mind a couple days ago, Camilla. I meant to go in there and toggle some of the colors. I think I may mess around with that at some point and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, cool. Could you get right on that?
Jeez. Oh, man. Jeff, you're doing great.
Assign Jeff to change color tables. Let me write this down here.
I was actually, I thought about this too. Okay. I kind of want to mess around with the rainfall graphics too. Mark's going to love it. Mark's gonna love it. Yeah. Anyways, I would assume 4 to 8 inches of snow seems reasonable in the higher elevations.
Yeah.
Conservatively over the next couple of days. And then all of a sudden we're heading into a warmer and drier pattern.
Yes.
Let's go. Cut off low.
There we go.
Yes.
There it goes.
For the people just listening to the podcast, Mark is stoked right now because he sees our upper level weather pattern animation.
That
I
ridge.
cannot stop it. Oops, I can't stop it.
Well, you don't have to stop it.
Yeah, just let it loop.
Well, sometimes it's better if you stop it. No, you can't stop it. Never mind. You just soak it in, folks. So so you got the upper level low that's coming down over us. This is on Saturday. So on Saturday, it's off the California coast. And then the high pressure takes over upper level ridge. The ridging is stronger on this morning's runs, I noticed. It holds longer into Tuesday, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It sure does. Yeah.
Nice.
Tuesday is an interesting day. I trended our forecast up. I don't know if I went high enough. We're going to talk about why in a sec. Yeah. This is a couple of different model ensemble outlooks for quantitative precipitation. Or basically, are we going to see rainfall? Are we not going to have rainfall? And I think
24-hour totals. Each line is one of the ensemble members. So each line is a run. And boy, remember a week ago we looked at this and there were some little gaps and we said, hey, maybe later next week towards Easter it could get nicer. Remember that? And now it's totally opened up. And I said, hey, as we approach an event like this, often it'll kind of open up there. And sure enough, now almost all except one ensemble member say no rain during this middle for Easter Sunday. I see one is producing it. Number 35 wants to ruin your Easter.
Oh, boo 35.
Bad 35. That was the Euro. Here's the GFS.
Yeah, pretty consistent.
Number 24 doesn't like Easter either.
Yeah, right. So what we're really showing you is around Friday morning, things are going to be drying out and should remain pretty dry through probably Tuesday. This is the National Blend of Models temperature outlook. This is a fairly conservative outlook. This blends all the models, of course, and this bumps us to about 60 Friday afternoon, mid-60s Saturday and Sunday. And it also has us in the mid-60s Monday and Tuesday. I am skeptical. I think we're going to be at least a bit warmer, especially on Tuesday. And
probably because it's averaging the models that crash the ridge quicker. Just bringing those in too.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, and it did look like the ridge was, like you said, getting a little bit stronger towards the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the 850 millibar temperature outlook. So basically at about 5,000 feet, it shows the forecast outlook in Celsius temperature-wise. And I highlighted Tuesday because that seems to be when the temperatures aloft will be at their warmest.
Mm-hmm.
This is showing 850 millibar temps, guys, between 5 and 10 degrees.
Which means?
Well, hold on. I just wanted to show the agreement really quick.
Uh-huh.
The GFS ensemble outlook is also
showing... Oh, wait, we have two different ones. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Euro and GFS are in pretty good agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday afternoon, around 5,000 feet, our temperature could be around 5 to 10 degrees Celsius. Why is that important? Why is that relevant? Well, Mark has this handy chart. Pretty much during every warmer month, we like to refer to this. Mark, break it down.
Well, first, that little scuzz up there, I was probably eating lunch 10 years ago.
Oh, my
See that?
goodness.
Ryan McMillan. I always blame Ryan McMillan for like the burrito stains. And...
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Oh, man.
Clean your chart, folks. Yeah, so this is just from 850 millibar temps, the temperature at 5,000 feet, the Salem sounding, the actual observed sounding. And, boy, this was a long stretch here from 92 to 2009. That's, 18, 17 years. And it just shows what the afternoon temperature was at Portland versus that temperature on the sounding, just because that seems to work pretty well during these, especially during these warm spells, during the warm season. It works. These charts work pretty well from mid-March to mid-September. After that, they don't work too well because of inversions. It can be warm above, and yet it doesn't mix down. But it gives us a good idea approaching these weather patterns, these warm weather patterns. And I was going to say, it's still doing better than models. Two weeks ago, when we had that big warm spell, this did better than the surface temperatures of the models. Somebody at the Weather Service mentioned that, who was it? Was it Sean? It was Sean Weigel, I think, at the Portland Weather Service. He said that models tend to have issues during the transition season when we're suddenly going warm after cool weather, warm or cool.
Interesting.
So they may struggle with surface temps. So anyway, so this would show if we're going to be plus 5 to plus 10, if we don't have any offshore flow, what is that, around 70? If we had offshore flow, that could push us as high as 75 or 76.
Mm-hmm.
But I think 72, 73 is totally in the realm of possibility.
Right. I agree.
So, I mean, I think I don't want to get people's hopes up because things can change. That ridge could break down a little earlier. We don't want to get people's hopes up too much. So we start with 70, and as our confidence grows, maybe we bump it up at another 2 to 3 degrees.
And regardless, we have a nice stretch of weather coming up, and it'll be warm, and the sunshine is quite warm. We're now the sun is at the higher half of the year. So we get a sunbreak, and it feels pretty good, even at 62 degrees.
And like the steam comes like forming off the decks.
I like that.
Yes.
Cold air mass, and then,
Camilla's probably enjoying that with all the training that she does.
Oh, yeah. This is so
steam?
nice. Yeah, well, just the dry weather. I enjoy not having to like clean my bike as thoroughly after a ride, because it gets mud splatter all over.
What about the mud splatter all over? Like you take selfies and you just have a muddy face after these rides.
I mean, and even with fenders, it's like there's nothing you can do. I mean, you're just getting disgusting out there. It's still fun. I enjoy it, but dry weather riding can't be beat.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Looks like we'll be nowhere near records. All the records this time of the year. Late March, early April, or upper 70s?
Yeah, close to 80.
That's our forecast. That is Jeff's forecast. We'll see if later this afternoon if it needs any adjustment.
Oh.
Just kidding.
I bet it goes to 72.
Camila, are you doing the forecast today? Is that correct?
What? I don't know. Do you need me to? Do you want me to?
I guess we could discuss off the podcast.
We'll fight about it later.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know I can do Friday. Friday would be a good day for me to do it.
We can negotiate.
Yeah, we can negotiate. Okay. There we go. Recent quakes.
Something happened last night offshore. Is that right?
Yeah, I got all excited. It was something that was, we always look for content to push out on our app, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of weird, but okay, let's push this out. So I had better have had some good views on it. So,
check the metrics.
Is that a kind of a kind of behind the scenes kind of like berating viewers for not clicking on my app? I don't know what that was. So there was a quake offshore of 5.7 magnitude, about 110 miles west of Port Orford, which is on the southern Oregon coast. And I did look. You can go to the USGS, did you feel it maps? And some people down there did feel it.
Oh.
But there were also, if you go to those maps now, anybody can input, and people in Portland and Seattle claim they could feel it, which clearly was not the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was that TriMet bus that rode by.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, Jeff feels the buses go by. Wasn't I at your
Wait,
house?
really?
I'm like, what is that? Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So Mark lives up in the country where you only hear birds chirping.
Yeah.
I don't hear sirens here ever. I mean, maybe once a year.
Lucky you.
It's all about the birds and I can hear the water, the creek. Okay, so we've got, it was not in the Blanco fracture zone, which is where we tend to get a lot of quakes. The strike slip fault where they're beside each other. There's no up and down motion. We never worry about tsunami out there. But we get dozens of quakes there each year for 4.0 to 5.5 typically. This one was a little stronger. It looks like this one, it was not on the quake boundary. There's one, I think you can see my cursor. There's a boundary here. If I'm correct, can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
This is the Pacific plate here. This is the Juan de Fuca plate. And I think this is considered part of the Juan de Fuca plate. Anyway, this was within the, did I say quake? Juan de Fuca plate. And this is within the plate, I think. I'm not, I'm not a volcanologist. I'm not a geologist, but I think that was within the quake. But that was the strongest. There was a 5.8 2 years ago in December. So a little less than 2 years ago, or was it a little over 2 years ago? One of those two. Anyway, that was the first time we've been that high offshore. But they don't really affect anybody. They sure don't cause a tsunami. Ready
That's
for more
good.
quake? Want more quake talk?
Let's do it.
Anybody that was here? What was it? 31 years ago, the Scotts Mills, the spring break quake, 5.6. And since 1990, here are all the quakes over 4.0 or higher. And so the 5.6 really sticks out.
Wait, how many years ago did you say?
Did I get that wrong? 31. Right?
It says 2017.
Oh, there was another one in the 4.0.
Oh, okay, sorry.
5.6.
That's what I was confused about. Okay.
2017, then there was a 4.0 in the same area. Kind of just
Sloppy graphic.
well, here's the deal.
Not
Not
font
true.
so small, can't read it.
Who made this one?
No, I'm only capturing like a screen grab. It starts with the 5.6 big, and the 5.6 goes behind, and the 4.0 pops out. So you should be thanking me for making the graphic nicer, where the 4.0, the most recent, pops out.
Jeez.
Thank you. All right, moving on.
You're welcome. All right, so here's another way to look
The
at it.
color gradient. No, I'm just kidding.
A lot of red here, but we got quakes. We do graphics in red for quakes. The last few 5.0 quakes, so we've only had 3 this large in our region, 5.0 or larger, since my career began in 1991. The Nisqually quake, remember the video from that one in 2001? I think there was a Microsoft conference or something, and everybody's in the meeting, and everything starts swaying up there in the Puget Sound. 6.8, that's a destructive quake up there. And then Klamath Falls. So the spring break quake was obviously spring break in March 25th, down at Scotts Mills. And then later that year, there were a series of quakes at Klamath Falls. That was the largest one. I think there was maybe over a 5 down there at Klamath Falls as well. There were a whole bunch right around Klamath Falls, which was interesting.
A swarm.
A swarm. I mean, I think it was spread out over several months. So it's interesting how, our planet's always moving. Everything's, the plate tectonics, things are moving around. And the big 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens produced a 5.7 quake. And I had forgotten about this one. There was a 5.5 right in Portland in 1962. Imagine how the news would go crazy now if that happened.
Oh, yeah.
Whew. Wow.
I was on air in my first TV market on the green screen covering rain, and I just remember it vividly. We had an earthquake. The anchor goes, "We're having an earthquake." I look up, the lights are all shaking above me. This is in Southern California, and stupid me decided to guess the quake magnitude.
Oh, no.
No, Jeff.
I said
You were young.
It's somewhere between a 4.0 and a 5.0 magnitude earthquake. Guess what it was?
3.8?
4.5.
Wow. The quake whisperer.
But I say stupid me because you just don't know where the epicenter is. You don't guess. You just kind of say what's happening.
Yeah, was that an 8.5 up in San Francisco?
Exactly.
That felt like a 3.5 or a 4 at your place? Yeah.
But still, did that shoot you into infamy? Everyone was like, oh my gosh, this Jeff guy, he knows what he's talking about.
Not really, no.
Okay.
But
that was your big break.
I grew up within a few miles from the San Andreas Fault in Southern California.
Right.
Earthquakes are pretty common down south, frankly, in California. So you get kind of used to the little shakers.
Yeah.
But these are a little
Okay.
Wow. I've never experienced one, so I'm fascinated by
Not at all.
Never.
Wow.
Well, I guess the
We
spring
don't
break
get
is
those in the Midwest,
I was thinking the spring break was the only one I've really felt. I thought I might have heard like a shake once here at home, but yeah. So you're right. If you live west of the Cascades, good chance you go a long time and not feel an earthquake. This was the biggest, second largest earthquake ever recorded. This happened on this date, March 27th, 1964. It was called the Good Friday earthquake. It was on the Friday before Easter. And the only other larger quake, this was a 9.2.
Dang.
There was a 9.5 in Chile in just 4 years before that. And this was a tremendously destructive earthquake in Alaska. And then it was actually the tsunami that killed most of the people. What does it show here? I think 131 people died, which is surprisingly low. But they attributed that to, notice the time, 5:36. It was during, I think, Easter week. The kids were out of school. I think, it would have been late in the day anyway. There was nobody. It was after office hours for most people. And, Anchorage, maybe in 1964, I don't know how many people lived there. Just not as much population as if it happened in Seattle or Portland, for example.
Sure.
And that was a subduction zone quake. And this earthquake, I was just reading up on it last night. It led to a lot of things we already know, or we think, we know about earthquakes and these subduction zones and how things work. Back then, scientists there were theories, but they weren't, they didn't know a lot of this stuff. In fact, at first, I think they didn't call it a subduction zone quake. They weren't familiar with that. And that was only, 60 years ago, I guess it was. 60. Wait, is that 60? It is.
It is.
Yeah. So it's just interesting. So that quake was tremendously destructive. There was an area offshore. I think it said a 6-meter rise in the land underneath the ocean off the southern Alaska coast. So that's 18 feet.
Wow.
The ocean suddenly rises, and you can see why that causes a tsunami. It took 20 or 30 minutes for that tsunami to arrive on the southern Alaskan coastline, like Valdez and Whittier, Alaska. And then it took here, my next graphic, this better play. There it goes. You like that?
Ooh, that's really cool.
That.
Look how it spreads. And people died on the Oregon coast. Was it 30 people? 30 people died in California, Oregon, and Washington, I think.
Wow.
Maybe it wasn't 30. I know there were 6 on the coast. A family was camping at Beverly Beach State Park on the beach.
Wow.
And so that would have been, if it took about 3 hours to get here. So, yeah, probably 9, 10. No, it was close to midnight when it arrived on the Oregon coast.
Can you say what the colors, it's so small. What do the colors signify, or what's the legend say?
The red is above, the red colors are above average sea level, and then it goes up to the yellow. I think I can play it again, can I?
Yeah, so it says 50 centimeters at the bright yellow and 50 centimeters below in the blue. So those brighter orange and yellow shades are like the greatest sea level rise.
So it's basically showing you
centimeter.
the waves or the undulations basically in the...
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Right along the Alaskan coast, there was a 200-foot wave close to the epicenter there, and then it went down quickly. It was a few feet on the Oregon coast, but if you're on the beaches, you would be swept away.
Dang.
Wow.
And I think people died down in Crescent City as well, I think. Crescent City is often a hot spot for tsunami. It just maybe the way the bathymetry underneath the ocean, maybe.
Crescent City, it's interesting. I think it was the Japanese earthquake.
Yeah.
There were tons of warnings up and down the west coast of the United States. Do not go out to the beaches, et cetera, et cetera. You still had folks out there taking photos. And a man, I remember, passed away in Crescent City, just got caught in one of the waves. So
Wow.
Even though, 6-8 hours of warning, and there was no reason for anybody to die.
You let your guard down. Yeah. Definitely. So
That's always
that's
always one of the big things. I just have to say, when I have friends visiting from out of town and I take them to the coast and they see the tsunami signs, they're like, they like freeze up. I'm like, it's okay. Usually we'd know. We'd have some warning, but it's always such a
we should have at least some warning, but you can.
I mean, it's true. You could. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you can plan, and frankly, Mark, I know there's a lot of text on here, but I mentioned in one of our previous podcasts when we were talking earthquakes or volcanoes, every time we mention earthquake, I just want to bring up now is a good time to make your earthquake kit. I know that our team has talked about this. We don't all have our kits perfectly together, but this is what the USGS recommends you have in an earthquake kit. I'll go through this quickly. A fire extinguisher in case a fire breaks out at your home, medications for you and your family, a crescent and pipe wrench to turn off gas or water if there's any kind of leak, a first aid kit and a handbook, a flashlight with extra bulbs and batteries, a portable radio with extra batteries in case you need to hear any kind of news headlines or like just any kind of warnings or updates, water supply for 2 weeks. So it's,
oh boy,
you're supposed to have 1 gallon. Well, we have water in our basement that I bought, but I don't think it's 1 gallon per person for 2 weeks, or enough supply for 2 weeks. Canned and packaged foods for several. That's supposed to say several days, not several. Plus a can opener. It's supposed to be a can opener that you can a mechanical can opener. A camp stove or barbecue to cook outdoors in case you don't have any way to cook inside, and a waterproof, heavy-duty plastic bag or multiple bags for waste. If you're not, if you don't have,
understand that one.
Well, I think it's the idea is if trash isn't being picked up, you can store it somehow.
Doesn't everybody already have plastic bags?
You would think. Maybe they haven't updated this list in a few years. The USGS.
There's something new, plastic bags.
I know.
That's quite an inclusive list, and let's be honest, most of us probably don't have all those things.
And we live in earthquake country, so at least get if I can recommend anything, get the most important stuff on this list that the medications, the water,
medications for sure, water. We do have a one of those. I think I got it when there was a sale at REI or something. One of those filters for water, since we have a pretty large creek down here.
That was actually recommended. I just couldn't fit it on the graphic. But filters for water.
Yeah, I don't know. Use this one on TV. That might be a lot of text.
Sorry, Mark.
Yeah,
just had to get that comment in.
Yeah, I know. We criticize each other for graphics.
Unless you reveal slowly, that's okay. Line at a time, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Last but not least.
Am I supposed to do eclipse?
There
it is. This is all you.
Since you're all about it.
The eclipse man.
You may remember in 2017, folks, we got really excited about the big eclipse that was coming our way. We had big preps. News crews were going everywhere. The world was going to end transportation-wise. Remember the Oregon Department of Transportation, Oregon State Police are like, you need to get where you're going 4 days ahead of time. Well, that didn't happen leading up to the eclipse. It did happen when everybody left 1 minute after the eclipse ended. But this time, you're not hearing about that. There's good reason, because the eclipse is going from Mazatlan to central Texas, central East Texas, up through the Ohio River Valley, and then it exits the North America up in Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. So you notice we are only at, we're only at 25% here, folks. So we will see far less of the sun covered compared to what we had in October. That was about 90% covered, where it kind of dimmed briefly. Yeah, don't bother.
Don't stare at the sun.
Yeah, I got my eclipse glasses here. I've got them right here.
Don't stare at the sun, folks.
You should have these things here, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I have these ready to go.
I think you should be rocking those the rest of the podcast, Mark.
Yeah. They don't fit over the things here.
You can fit.
Plus, I can't see the graphics. But that's the point. In fact, mine even say, I'm keeping these because it has the path of the total solar eclipse in 2017 there.
That's cool.
GreatAmericanEclipse.com. Oops, am I in trouble for promoting that? And then August 21st, 2017, I'll keep these till I'm an old man.
Nice.
Which you got no comments there. Okay. So that's the eclipse. So you guys are staying here. You're working. I know that. So I'm driving. Well, I'm part flying and part driving with my son. So we're headed out.
What's the final destination again? Texas?
Don't say final destination. That doesn't, bad.
Sorry. Okay.
Bad vibes
what?
there.
Sorry.
We're going to Dallas. We're going to watch it from the
final destination to view the eclipse. Why is that?
You.
You can't say that. Okay.
Well, the movie Final Destination, all those bad things that happen.
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
What? That's a whole series of movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we plan to watch it from the roof of the parking garage at Dallas Airport.
Okay.
So my son and I are
Glamorous.
pretty fixed there. We're driving. We're spending a few days in Moab mountain biking, visiting a friend. And actually, we're going to go see Santa Fe and Durango, Colorado. Now, I did just change my plans. This might be considered a little risky. We were driving the last day, the day before the eclipse, from Santa Fe to Dallas, which is, I figured, that's going to be real exciting. I've never driven across Texas, but Jeff, there's not a whole lot to see, right? It's flat and fast.
Oh, man. It is fast. That is for sure.
Yeah. So it was just as cheap, it turned out, to fly the morning of the eclipse from Santa Fe to Dallas. So I have a flight that gets there 2 hours before the eclipse.
Oh.
I assume it'll be on time. Small airport, there's almost no flights that leave that airport, right?
Yeah, 2 hours is a good buffer, especially if you're not planning on really leaving the airport.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is if that aircraft has problems, I'm not going to see the eclipse. There's no other option.
Wow.
So maybe I'll be in the 80% zone or
is it
total.
a
It's going to
Boeing?
be total or 80.
Do you know that it's severe weather season?
Oh my gosh, lawsuit.
Do you know that it's severe weather season down south? What could possibly delay a flight?
Oh, that's true.
Well, no, in Santa Fe. Well, wait a minute. If there's severe weather around Dallas, then you're not going to see the eclipse anyway. So we'll just sit there and circle in the air and it'll get dark in the air.
Wouldn't that be a bummer? Man, I hope that it all works out for you, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see it again because you know what eclipse chasers say, and I had this graphic before the 2017 eclipse, and I totally agree. Partial eclipse, yeah, last October, interesting but forgettable. But a total eclipse is the unforgettable experience of a lifetime, and that's why people go. I know there are other people from our area that are driving down within a week. They too will be driving. So, good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh boy, this is the part I was really hoping we wouldn't get to.
Okay.
We don't have a lot of time, so we got to get through it fast. But Camila, as many of you know, is working toward her meteorology degree at Mississippi State. She's taking an online program, and Camila is learning stuff that Mark learned 33 years ago or longer.
And Jeff, when did you learn it?
A decade ago.
Okay.
So, Jeff is going to be fresh. He's going to have all the answers.
There's a lot that we forgot, folks.
Yeah.
So
we figured this could be a fun segment. Maybe we call it pop quiz. I don't know. Still playing around with some ideas here. But I'm opening up my radar. Okay, radar notebook.
Radar, come on. We don't even use radar here hardly.
I think radar is better than water resources. Do you want me to quiz you on the origin of lakes? Probably not. Really?
Maybe next time. Next time. That's fine.
We'll start with radar.
Class. Okay.
And Jeff has an advantage over me because he lived in serious weather country.
Yeah, my money's on Jeff for getting this one.
Is it multiple?
Offense.
Can we make this multiple choice?
No.
Oh gosh.
Okay, your term is 3-body scatter or 3-body scatter spike. Do we remember what this is?
I can go first because I know I don't have it. I remember the term, but I have no idea what it means.
Okay.
I'm not embarrassed to say. I'm a Northwest boy.
Does it have to do with like debris lofted there?
Close. It has to do with a specific kind of precipitation that is highly reflective on radar.
Oh no, is that a snow rain mix?
No.
Hail.
Very good. Yep. So yeah, with hail, you can get energy from the radar reflected back to the ground, then back to the hailstone, and then back to the radar, which basically causes an echo to form on radar, and it looks like a little spike basically behind the storm. So they call that a 3-body spike. It's how you can see whether. Yeah. So there you go.
I should remember that.
So the hail probably has to be a decent size, right? Not a little pea-sized hail.
Typically, it has to be pretty good size hailstones for that to happen.
So we would almost never see that here. Maybe Eastern Oregon in the summer if it's close enough to the radar.
There's some big old ones out there.
Yep. Yeah.
Interesting.
So there you go.
So there'll be a second false radar return behind the hail core.
Exactly. And it's usually it's on that straight radial from the radar through the middle of the storm out. So it looks like an echo behind the storm.
You know what this is probably going to turn into? Camilla's going to name a time, and we're just going to throw things at the wall and hope that one of them is
sticks.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Jeff, it's 1-0.
Yeah.
You have a 1 and I got a 0.
We'll give Jeff at least half credit for that. Yeah,
I think
sure.
So.
I'll take a half point. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice work.
Next week will be better.
We'll have like we'll get like a scoreboard.
We should.
I can get that going. Yeah.
At the end, there should be a prize for whoever has the most points.
All right.
Yeah.
Great stuff, Camila.
Yep.
Well, we got a wet couple of days, but beautiful weather on tap as we head into the holiday weekend. Enjoy that, and we'll be back next week with another episode of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.
You're waiting and hesitating, and tell us, please tell us.